show. Again, we are here. My name is Steve Williams, of course, and who I got here today again? Bobby Bliatu, as usual. Every single day we do this. Every single week we do this, try to get informative in some of this information. And today I am kind of excited. By the way, Bobby, how you doing, man? I ain't seen you a whole day. I talked to you for about 15 minutes. How you been?
We're doing good. We're doing good things. We got a lot of things announced in the future. We're trying to settle some stuff up right now. But Steve and I got some news for you, just trying to get active and do some things. So little things to fix up right now, right, Steve?
That's right. We got some things in the future that we should be announcing a little bit later. But anyway, I am actually kind of excited today because one of the biggest contested things that I've noticed in probably the past 15 years, probably 20 years, going right back 2 decades, because ever since I've been involved in voting and got myself involved in voting, there has always been an issue of this thing of the Electoral College and this idea of kind of how it works, the way it's formulated, the reason we do it. Actually, a lot of us don't know why it's being done, right? Because, we know what the initiation of it was. That's pretty documented, but we don't know why we still need it, right? These are one of these big issues to the Electoral College.
Okay.
I
don't think I heard you say that in the beginning. No, you just went right to a thing that we need, but we don't need. What is it? What is it?
Excited about this.
Yeah. Steve has been excited because the process, that it's the Electoral College, because a lot of people think that they're voting for the president on November 3rd. On that day, you go in, you're voting, and you're kind of not. But then there are other people who actually vote for the president. You kind of vote for who's going to be there. We'll get into that process. But Steve's excited because we got one of those peeps right here.
That's right. That's right. People don't realize that we're a representative democracy. We actually send representatives, right, to go and vote in our behalf, right? That's kind of the way the Electoral College goes. We have the census. The census allocate how many individuals live within a state, and then we get allocated within counties counties and jurisdictions and municipalities as to how many electoral votes the state of California will get, right, due to population. Here in the state of California, we get 55. So it's kind of exciting today because today we actually have one of those 55 electors that actually went to Sacramento and voted on behalf of the state of California for President-elect Biden. And we have one of those. His name is Brock Neeley. How you doing, sir? Let's bring him on in. There he is.
Hey, Bobby. How you feeling today?
Good. I'm kind of excited that you're here today because what you did this past, what was this? Was this on Tuesday
Monday?
It was Tuesday, right? On Monday.
Monday.
So what you did on Monday is kind of important. So I'm gonna have you explain it. I'm sorry, we got a little delay. I'm sorry about that. Okay. I'm gonna have you explain it real quick. Explain to us, first of all, exactly what you did on Monday for here in the state of California.
Well, on Monday, which is actually the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December at 2 p.m., the electors shall meet in their state capital and cast their ballot for each of the congressional districts and each of the 2 senators for each state for president and vice president. So when you vote in November, you vote for a slate of electors. So in essence, I carried all the votes for the 23rd congressional district and voted for Joseph R. Biden for president and Kamala D. Harris for vice president.
Okay, so here's my other question real quick. How does an elector get selected?
You're actually appointed either by one of the 2 state senators or by your congressperson. That's how they're allocated, 1 per Congress district and 2 for the state senators. That's how we come up with 55 because we have 53 Congress districts.
And so is there an election process? Right. Is there an election process? Because, a lot of times we hear we're electing people. How in this process of Electoral College, because, we tell people that, when they say, what, I don't vote for the president, what am I voting for? And then we say you're voting for the person who's going to go make that vote. But in kind of what you just explained, When I explain it that way, they're like, well, then I didn't vote for that person to go. I don't even know who that person is, right? How do you explain to folks, Brock, that are from the area in your district, which was under Kim Mangon, right? To them that, their actions gave you the right to do it, and how is that justified in that sense?
Well, in California is what they call a winner take all state. So each of the electors in the state, unless you want to be punished by a fine, will vote for the popular vote in California. Now, each of the candidates, be they Republican, Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian, chooses their slate of electors. It's just the one that wins the popular vote that actually goes to Sacramento to vote. So there was a whole slate of Republicans that were selected also. So in case, for some slim chance, Donald J. Trump could have won California, it would have been a whole different scenario up in Sacramento.
Right. So it would not have been you that would have gone. It would have been
Correct.
Someone, in your case, would have been someone that was under McCarthy. Well, McCarthy would have appointed somebody, right? And if Kanye West had won California, he would have already picked out people to be his selectors, or what?
Yes, because that's your electors are selected in the first week in September. And the only ones that are after that are selected after November 3rd are the ones for the certified write-in candidates, because they also are entitled to, and they're only entitled to the ones for the districts that they were written in on the ballot. So if you were only written in on one district, you get one elector. Period.
So in essence, let me get this right. So let's say Donald Trump won the state of California. Okay, that's almost Disneylandish, but let's just say if that happened, would the 55 electors of the state have been Republican, or do they stay the same as, would the electors have been predominantly Democrat, or is that not right?
Well, they would be Republicans, because each party selects their slate of electors.
Oh,
so
okay. So
we did have one reformed Republican, former congressman that has now re-registered as a Democrat. He was the Republican congressman that actually was the first one to tell Richard Nixon it's time to resign.
So basically, Steve, so if Donald Trump had won, the Democratic congressional members would not have been able to choose an appointed person. It would have been the Republican general candidate that would have been selecting it. And if there had been two Democrats in it, then the Republican Party would have appointed somebody, right?
Correct.
And that's it. Correct. Yeah.
So you can actually go to the Secretary of State's webpage under the November 3rd election, and there is a selection way down there with the 2020 electors list, and it lists them for all the different candidates and write-ins. So those people still get the honor of being selected as an elector. It's just they never had to perform their duties because their party didn't succeed.
Now, you've actually physically done that. You actually went to Sacramento. You know the process. You understand. You're well versed into what that process is and how how it works. Do you feel yourself that the Electoral College in itself is still needed?
It's hard to say. The thing of it is, if we do keep it, it needs to be reformed, for the simple fact that, under my vote, I carried I think it's about 72,000 votes, where you take like in Nebraska or somewhere like that, each elector maybe carried 5,000 votes. So is it proportionally correct? Not in my opinion. So, like I say, if it stays, it needs to be reformed. So, but
Yeah, I never understood the fact that, especially like the state of California with 40 million people in its population, and you got states like Oklahoma, you got combined states like that. I mean, I understand that it's allocated through, I think, the census, right? That's why I was trying to push the census constantly this past year because it was done online. And I know Trump prematurely closed it down early, the census, I guess, at some sort, because, I mean, I kind of have a good. So when you guys on Monday, when you all went in together, and then you all voted, kind of like almost like members of Congress. I know I saw a picture. I think it was. I don't know if it was in the Fresno Bee or the Sacramento Bee. Where actually you were in both those pictures, by the way.
I was at just about every. They put me in a good spot. They put me in Phil Ting's desk.
Nice. Okay. So you guys kind of like voted, almost kind of like if you was a local state congressional leader, right? Kind of like that.
Right. And we actually had for each of the two that we actually had to sign, and then they tallied the vote. And then the part that took the longest was for the tellers to go around so we can sign the official documents that get filed with all the different organizations throughout the government. Because there has to be 7 originals of all the lists of the electors that cast votes. And
now,
usually that would take 20 minutes or so. But this time it took almost an hour because, social distancing and everything. They had tellers come to us instead of us just going up to a desk and signing all 7 copies.
And when you were certifying the votes, I know you were certifying the vote for the presidential election. Is that the only election that you're certifying, or are you certifying congressional, or was it just the presidential election?
Just the president and vice president. And it is possible if, for some reason, if Kamala hadn't gotten 55 votes too, and she would have got a minority, we could have said no. That's just we're having to elect both of them independently, which is kind of different, because on the normal ballot they're a ticket.
I do have a question here about, because you made a mention, and I'm wondering how they can actually do that, but you made a mention. If you went in, and I know you had to sign stuff saying that you're going to vote for Biden, that you were going to vote for Kamala Harris in those seats, and good that you did. But if people decided not to do it, like if they had a change of heart that morning, right before they did it, like I just can't do it, I'm going to vote my heart and go with somebody, or not vote for them, right? I don't even know what your options were, but at that point, what if you did not vote for them? What do you do? I mean, what happens to you? What could happen to you, and like how?
I could be charged with perjury, and then also subject to a fine under the unfaithful electors code here in California. And if I remember correctly, it's like $30,000.
So Donald Trump came and paid you $30,000 to pay for your fine and give you money when he got away with it. Is that possible? Is that possible can your vote be bought as an elector? Because obviously people can tell you and force you to do something now, right? Because in a way it's because you are volunteering to vote for something. You're going as a representative of that party selected person. But if you decided to change your mind, or I'm just wondering how far it could go, because that's what Donald Trump did. He showed us how far you can stretch a law, how far you can go and say,
I'm sure if somebody didn't have the ethics, they could be bought. But
right, and that's it. That's
we
our
find
only
that
thing
on the other side of the aisle more than we do on our side.
That's what I'm just looking at that. I just can see someone, if we ever get, hopefully never again, but another Trump-like person with all the money in the world. If it's a $30,000 fine, he go through, just pay these people $30,000, and here's another $1 million, flip all the votes and vote. I mean, was Donald Trump even a way for? Could you even put his name on the ballot? I mean, was his name on the ballot when you guys voted?
No, there was a ballot that said Joseph R. Biden for president. Sign it. The ballot says Kamala Harris for vice president. Sign it.
Right. So your only option was to go for them or not for them, but nobody else.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And
So I
you know,
think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, and you know, and some of the questions were, you know, why was it set up? Well, it was primarily set up so that, you know, large population bases like California couldn't override the votes of less populated areas like Nebraska and, you know, those kinds of areas. But that's really not true because we have 55 electors. Nebraska has what, 4? And theirs are proportional. So each of the congressional districts, they could go for individual one candidates. So it's not a winner take all. There are only 2 that are non winner take all, and that's Maine and
And in Oklahoma
Nebraska.
and Maine. Oh, Nebraska.
No,
Okay.
Nebraska.
Okay.
You know, something about those, all those corn years, I guess.
So I think, okay, so I think so if you were going to change it, say if to make it better, to make the process better, how do you think we can go about doing that? How do you think that we can fix, if you feel that maybe we need to update it, how can we update that process in the sense of to make it better?
I really haven't delved into that too much. I know there's been a couple of publications put out that look at various ways of adjusting the proportional vote. It's really complex, and when you really think about it, those old codgers back there in the 1700s were pretty smart to set some of this stuff up.
You're right. I mean, look, when you start to look at this, because day in, day out, the 3 of us, and especially Brock, we're always continually talking about those voices that are drowned out, and that are drowned out because there's not enough strength behind it. There's not enough numbers. And I've always said, when you look at the Electoral College, I see a lot of that intent in it. Like kind of you said, you have a big group like California, you have a lot of small other rural areas. Look, the bigger voice is going to matter, but the conditions and the concerns and the issues in that area are completely different than another area, and you can't let them take the full breadth of the voice and the power, and that's what we have to be able to do. I think some things that get mixed up in it off. One is how the how you guys are selected, how it's chosen from the different groups within the states themselves, because with 55 here, and forcing it to go one way or the other, even in our area, let's just say, our rural areas and our counties, these areas are kind of drowned out of that voice, right? Because you have a large Democratic area, and because I'm biased, it's okay. But if it was flipped on the other way around, if it was largely Republican and conservative in California, and we had some, largely Democrats in the Central Valley or in our rural areas here, we would have no voice federally, because the state was a winner take all. But if it was like you could parse out our county and then our vote here, or our area, and that would count as one towards the president, that would count one towards that federal executive branch, right? So that is a little bit more fair to me, kind of what Maine does, and what Maine and is Nebraska, is it that does also partial votes, that it's not a winner take all. And I do appreciate that more, because that goes back to the this is our area. We have different concerns than you, and we should have our own voice at a federal level as well. So the winner take all is in California for us great, because we can swing things largely, different areas, different ways. But I think when a president comes out and talks to different communities, the president has to actually understand each community, because if you come into California, why come to the Central Valley? You need to go win San Francisco. You need to go win LA, everywhere else, because that's what's going to swing the whole state. So having the ability to come back to the different areas, to the ones that don't have the biggest voices, but also have those concerns and we are important. That's what we need to get back to, I think.
Well, in California, if we went proportional based on each congressional district and everything, the Republicans still would have only gotten 7 votes out of California, because we only have 7 congressional representatives from the Republican Party.
Right. But then, Yeah, I mean that, but it's still representative, right? I mean, even though it's not on my side or whatever it is, it's still representative. Remember, I always believe that we always can't be right, and we always got to listen to folks. And that's the thing I always say. Look, you have the way you live your life. Here's some folks that this how they live their life. Please listen. Be humane. And that's the thing that comes about this, right? There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. I mean, my wife still gets about it. Like, what? You mean that was all for nothing? All that stuff, all that talk, and we voted, and you did all that stuff, and that was for nothing. It's like, no, no, no. This is how it works. This is how it works. And a lot of people still don't know, and that's why it's great to have you here, Brock. And I know we were technical on a lot of stuff. I wish we would have started off a different way, but let me know. I know how you felt. I mean, that day that you called me when you knew you were doing this, when it was you, and you were excited, and I was so excited for you. But like, let's let our viewers know, let everyone know, like, how did it feel? What did you think of? And having that kind of onus, you're one of, what is it, 535?
538.
538.
Yeah, 538 people. One of them that's going to be making a vote for our next, president. How did that feel? What did go? What went through your head and your heart with all the stuff you've done in your life? And you're getting to do this now.
Well, there's been several times I've been up in the state capitol. I have never been allowed to be on any of either two legislative floors. That's reserved for very special people, period. Walking through that door at the back of the assembly chamber and stepping on that green carpet, which is, by the way, really ugly, in my opinion. But, it just kind of hits you with this emotion of, wow, this is real. I'm a part of history. And the other thing is knowing that, all of your votes are secret ballot. Mine is a public ballot. 20 years from now, your kids will be able to look up in the history book and say, I met him. He voted for president.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of get this welling feel of emotion. And then when they actually count the ballots, it's like, wow. And Kamala got a bigger applause and celebration than Joe did, but that she's more of a historical vote than him. Now, his is historical because he's only the second Catholic. She's the first woman.
Yeah, people don't realize that's actually a good point. That's a really good point.
Kennedy was the first Catholic. Talk about minority. I mean, there's a majority of Catholics in this country, but the minority of being president.
And one thing I think that it's a great thing to be a Democrat in this day and age, because if you look at the selections that Biden has done, I mean, you look at that. I mean, me and Bobby talk about this all the time. I mean, it really looks like America. It really, really does, and it's amazing to be part of that. Even my little vote here where I'm at to cast in this time where we voted for the first. I mean, Kamala Harris that's brown. I mean, she broke all kind of barriers, all kind of stuff. I mean, if you think about
one of her biggest accomplishments, in my opinion, is when that idiot from Huntington Beach wanted the Sodomite Suppression Act on the ballot, and she was Attorney General, and she was tasked to title and summary it. So she petitioned the Supreme Court of California to give her a writ of mandamus and injunctive relief not to have to title and summary it because it was unconstitutional on its face. I mean, you can't put a ballot initiative out there that makes it legal to go out and kill people. And that's what that was. So, she's the first one in history to ever have the ability to think out of the box, to not have to summary and title a piece of citizens' initiative.
Okay, so see, Brock is full of a lot of knowledge, but Brock has also been a huge advocate in so many different areas, and so that's kind of one thing that I want to bring up is like selection of someone to make the electoral vote. how that happened. Did you pay somebody? Was there a board? Was there a group? Did it go to the Democratic Party? Is it that you were a standout person and that someone reached out to you?
It started about 2.5 years ago when we went to a Region 9 meeting down in Palmdale, and Kim Mangone was there, and she had just set up her website, was just getting ready to announce. And I said, talk to her and listen to her. And everything she said appealed to me. So I says, give me the link to your webpage. I'll download your logo and everything, put that information on the Stonewall webpage. And I had that on there before we left Palmdale that day. And we supported her from day one. I mean, Bobby knows how we support a candidate. Mm-hmm. If you're what we think you should be, we're there.
And who is we?
I think it's just from all that support that she said, this is the person that I think represents my values as far as being an elector. And I always thought it was something that the rich donors got.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm kind of pointing towards, right? And are people paying to get the way in there? Are you going to end up just being a spouse? But there are people out there that they're choosing, based on what people see in the community. Brock's a great choice and a great representation from the actual district. Brock is, to me, changing Porterville. But I mean, now knowing all those and the viewers and didn't get to know everything that you do. I mean, there's too much to kind of list and all the things that you're working on. But just on a standpoint, Brock, I know we're giving this introduction at the end. You were the electoral person up there, but this is Brock Neeley, who got selected to cast his vote for Biden. Who's Brock?
I'm just an average person that happens to be gay and lives in Porterville, that is not afraid to stand up to try to make life better for the person that follows me.
And who is
on
a
the Tulare County Suicide Prevention Task Force. We've made huge strides in Tulare County in bringing down our suicide rate to the point that it amazes all the experts all over in suicidology across the world. We cut ours in half for 2 years. This year we've had a little bit of an increase, but that's because of COVID. Everybody is. It's stressed a lot of people out. Not just physically, but mentally. I go to every city council meeting. I even went Tuesday after coming back to speak about a person or a particular retailer here in town that thinks that they can just move all these shipping containers into the parking lot for the Christmas season, use it for additional warehousing space. No, you're not paying property taxes. If you need warehouse space, you build a warehouse. Pay property taxes on it. You're not being just to the community when you do that. I'm an equal opportunity person. I'll complain about everything, even people in the gay community.
Oh, he'll stand up. Brock ain't afraid of nobody. From the very get-go, I know Brock is not afraid of nobody, but Brock's got the biggest.
What's ironic, too, is Fresno and Tulare County seem to be a couple of the reddest areas in the state. But the representatives that were sent from our two counties were from the gay community. Was that somebody trying to tell everybody, give them a message that, hey, we're changing?
Yep. And Brock is doing his best to lead that charge. We got a lot of good people in our community that are leading that charge. But I mean, it does stand out, and it does give a good representation of what is happening out here. And I'll tell you, Brock was one of those that, Steve, when I was running for Congress and the different groups that I went to, this was one group in the Tulare Stonewall Democrats was that kind of like spoke with me, and as I was there, when I was talking, it wasn't like I wasn't giving a speech. We were talking, and you gave me this little yellow flower pin that I still got at home, sometimes I wear. And because when you just reminded me of that one, because we talked about the suicide, what you've done in suicide. He's done a lot of work on mental health in Tulare County and working with, suicide hotlines to stop, to help prevent a lot of the unnecessary deaths that are happening, and even, the attempts and working with families and folks on this. Yeah, I mean, they connect right away. And so I was happy and proud to see you up there as an electorate as well.
Well, and let's do this. If you're in stress and need help, call 1-800-273-8255. That's the National Suicide Lifeline. If you're a veteran, select option 1, and they will get you help. Our goal is to keep you alive, to make life better, to give you that little piece of hope.
Do you work, Brock? Do you work with Mary out at the VA here in local here in Fresno?
No, well, she comes down to our meetings periodically, or now through Zoom periodically. But we work mostly with the family services and everything over Lemoore, because actually we had a year ago 2 people on the same day killed themselves in one squadron, and this was actually after our joint JPA between Kings County and Tulare County had dissolved because of the funding advantage for it went away, and Kings County wanted to do their own thing. And even though we had already dissolved, we went in with our lost teams, and everybody involved in those squadrons, including all their family members, were talked to within 24 hours, given resources, and debriefed. I mean, these are the mobilization things we do. And these are all volunteers. These people don't get paid a penny for doing this stuff. But you get paid with a good feeling in your heart. And that's what life's all about.
Yep. And see, that's what hit with folks. And that's how you got into everything that you're doing, but also, you got selected for Electoral College and to make that vote for Biden. And so thank you very much for getting Trump out of that place.
Well, we still got one step. We got January 6th. So don't forget that. And that's when the House and the Senate have their joint session. And in that, the states each get one representative in the House to vote on certification. So California naturally will have a Democratic representative. There are 30 states that will have Republican representatives. They could vote not to seat Joe Biden and to seat Donald J. Trump again.
Okay, so I want you to repeat that again, because that'll be in our headline. Okay, so we voted. So people know, we voted as citizens for the president of the United States on November 3rd. But we actually didn't vote for that. We voted to see which group would get in to do the Electoral College. The Electoral College on December 14th made a vote. And then 306 votes which is past the 270 necessary to select the next president. So President-elect Biden is now the person there to be voted by the Electoral College. However, it needs to be certified.
Correct.
And that certification happens on the 6th. And it's possible. How many do they need to actually get certified? How many representatives are there?
It needs a majority, a simple majority.
But and then,
so the five of the 5 of the
in the House of Representatives, each state gets one representative.
Okay, so it's not included in any territory. So Guam, Puerto Rico, all those areas don't get anything. No representation from there, right? So
correct.
You need a majority of the 50 states.
And also a majority of the Senate, which each of those gets one vote.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems as though Mitch McConnell is already going to. He pretty much already congratulated President-elect Biden. So I think and I know he's going to have to reel in some of them, but I think he may lose a few, maybe a couple. It's looking that way. That are not going to vote, right? I mean, from what I'm reading, I don't know.
Wait. When you say not vote, you mean they're going to certify?
Certify on January 6th. So I guess if they don't get 100% for Joe Biden in the sense of because he was elected, right, by the states, from what I'm reading, and Brock, you can of course correct me if I'm wrong here, they will have to convene if there are senators that are going to contest the election. So they will have to convene. It would, according to what Mitch McConnell said yesterday, it will take a couple of hours. It's just going to be a it's going to be a bunch of waste of time, but they will have to convene and actually argue over it. It would be almost like they're arguing over a bill or something. So, and then, yeah, I know.
All right, so Brock, now tell everyone what happened on June 6th.
One of the things that we signed.
What happened? They don't vote for Biden. They don't certify. What happens?
Well, one of the things we signed that actually goes to the House archivist, which is the document that will be presented to the President of the Senate on the 6th, is the letter of assertion, which we all signed, as well as the Secretary of State and Gavin Newsom had to sign. And that is the certification that we, as the state of California, voted for Joseph R. Biden and Kamala D. Harris. Now, each state has sent that in. Those are opened and presented to the joint session on the morning of the 6th. So it'll be both the House and the Senate in the same room. After those are presented and read, then they convene into their individual houses. The Senate goes to their little room, and the House stays in their room, and they have a ballot. And they can have a discussion if they want. It depends on if somebody wants to pass a unanimous consent in the Senate, and nobody consent or defies the unanimous consent. It's 100% unanimous for Joseph Biden, which is what McConnell is calling for. He's done with this. It's crap. It's ruining our country. Now, I don't see the same thing happening in the House because Nancy does not have control over the Republicans hardly at all. And we saw how McCarthy joined the lawsuit with Texas. Now, if Nancy really wanted to, she could, on the 3rd, exercise the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, the Subversion Act, and 126 congressmen won't be seated. And they would have to go to a special election, which means a majority of the Republicans would not be seated. And that's in law. So if she really wanted to, she could use that. I don't know if she will. But like I say, there's rumblings of some of the House members not going to vote for the certification. But it doesn't have to be 100%. If they don't vote, it's a simple majority, 50% plus one.
From each house, right? From Senate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all together. So that sounds like 100 votes, right? 100 votes. You need 51. And if they don't make it, though, if it does not get certified, what's that next step? I mean, what happens at that point?
Then they put a motion on the floor to vote for whoever. Well, 3 states have already sent in their fake certification of electoral vote. Arizona's done it.
I'm telling you, we could have avoided all this. We would have made the right decision, everybody, back in 2016. Okay?
Exactly.
This stuff needs to be over. No, the truth is, as we look at all of these guys, as we look at all of this, these are all exposing, and what has been exposed, a lot of the loopholes and a lot of things that are out there, if you let the wrong person in office take advantage of. Because we can't, get rid of all we can't put in the language and leave freedom to run and to lead at the same time. If you're holding everyone down, then you can't do it. So we just, right. I think, you would think as a legislator, as someone who's framing the Constitution, just think that the people would not put someone in place that would do all those things, right? And so that's
the one
what
thing you have to. The one bright spot on all of this is there are a lot more people that are going to be educated on the electoral process.
Yeah,
I mean, I
and
thought I
even the
knew a little
people,
bit about it until I was
people,
selected, and then I started doing research, and it's like, whoa, I don't really know anything.
that's me. I'm a political major.
You know,
I'm a political major, and I'm telling you, I did not know a lot. I mean, I knew a little bit about the Electoral College, and we had a couple sections in it in college. But look, I didn't know it. I didn't know how the intricate parts of this election is. I knew we were representative democracy. I knew all the words. I knew, you pass all the tests. But you're like, holy crap, there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this machine than just voting.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
I think
well,
it is,
and
and
the
Brock,
Constitution
thank you
is very
for
vague,
yeah. So Brock, thank you
and
very
they
much
kind
for
of leave
doing
it up
this
to
and
the
joining
state
us.
legislatures.
We've had, there's a lot of questions, a lot of things. And I think when we started off with this scenario, like, hey, we're going to get educated, we're going to do stuff. And I think we made a lot of questions for a lot of people, a lot of viewers, like, what? There's all this stuff. I thought it was over. And what our votes, what happens with our votes. But I think there's a lot of things that, Steve, that we have kind of planned in the future. There are things that we can start, and the things that we do, people can also learn as we are learning on different things. See, Brock, in the very beginning, when Steve and I got together, he was commenting like, who's vetting these people? I always bring this up, Steve, right? There's a process that we all think that when we leave people in charge of our lives, that they're going to do the right things, that they are going to have the checks and balances in place. And that's not always true. And so it's up to us as citizens to get engaged as much as possible, educate ourselves and our folks as much as possible. And we're not all going to know everything. But if we are getting engaged, going up, getting better is the only place to get to. And when we ignore and neglect, and we get into the wrong places where I think we've been in the last 4 years. So, but again, we did talk a long time. I know we could talk forever. But Brock, I'd love to bring you back on. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. I think I'd love to be able to, talk about things about the suicides, about our veterans, just movements that are happening. I'd love to be able to have a show about that as well. I'd love to bring you back, but I think time's running out here. Just last minutes, last words. Is there something that you want to say, Brock?
Get involved. Go to a city council meeting. Go to a school board meeting. Go to a hospital board meeting. If you're not registered to vote and you're eligible, register to vote. Don't subvert your rights and let somebody else take it for you. Because if you don't vote, you ain't got no reason to bitch.
All right, so that's where we are today. I appreciate you so much for coming on, Brett Neely. Really, I do, Brock. I really appreciate you for coming on and kind of educate. I mean, I know it's very in depth. So I know that to me, you've enlightened me on a lot of stuff, especially on the Electoral College side of the house. And man, I tell you what, man, I really appreciate you and for coming on today. And like Bobby said, I hope we can have you on again.
Sounds like fun.
Awesome. I appreciate you. Again, okay, of course, this is Steve Williams and Bobby Pleaded 2 on the Steve and Bobby Show that we come here every single week to try to get you guys more informed on some of this important information. Of course, we're filming usually we film at the Mad Talk TV studios, but we can't because of the pandemic and some of the COVID issues, so we're doing it remotely as well. So, we're trying to do our part. Bobby's trying to do his part, and we're all trying to do our part to try to make it safer so this pandemic can go away. Did you take the shot yet, Bobby?
No shot. We don't get it yet.
Okay.
No, we don't get it yet. It goes to the hospitals first. I'm telling you,
that's okay.
What's going to be left over is something else, man. Well, like I said, there's all this stuff going on about Moderna and Pfizer and everything. By the time it gets to us, I'm just trying to figure out. Not really want to talk trash, but I mean, everybody's bugging me now. All the staff members, all the doctors. When we get it? We're going to get it when they give it to us. This is all we can do. We can't buy it. We got to wait. And as far as patients, we'll figure that out too when it comes. Who knows? It might be AstraZeneca. It might be, a different shot. Who knows what it is, what's going on. Congress needs to get its act together, but we're going to be talking about that on another segment. So
anyway, I appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching the Mad Talk, the Steve and Bobby Show here on the Mad Talk TV studios. Make sure you guys tune in. We're going to be doing another segment about some of the COVID relief bill and some stuff that we're going to be talking about. Of course, today is December 17, 2020. I kind of like to put that date in there so anytime later on in the future I'm looking, I can see what date it is. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. again, thank you so much. I see you guys on the other side.